the cold-hearted billionaire CEO who didn't believe in love, until she saw her humble black janitor, Whitley Ashford, stood in her corner office on the 48th floor of Ashford Tower in downtown Chicago, surveying her empire with the satisfaction of someone who'd conquered every goal by age 32. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Michigan, her name etched in glass on the door, her company, Ashford Technologies, valued at $3.7 billion. She'd built this, not inherited it, despite what people assumed. Her father had left her seed money when he died, but Whitley had transformed a modest investment firm into a tech powerhouse through ruthless ambition, strategic brilliance, and an absolute refusal to let emotion interfere with business. Love? Whitley didn't believe in it. She'd watched her mother, Diana Ashford, waste decades pining for a man who'd prioritized work over family until a heart attack claimed him at 55. She'd seen colleagues make terrible decisions because of romantic entanglements. She'd dated strategically Bennett Cross, her CFO, for 18 months, but ended it when she realized feelings were developing. Feelings complicated things. Ms. Ashford? Rosa Mendez, her executive assistant, appeared at the door. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Mr. Kane and the others are already in the conference room. Good. Have they reviewed my expansion proposal? Yes, and they have concerns. Of course they did. Oliver Kane, the senior board member who'd been her father's friend, always had concerns when Whitley suggested aggressive growth. Too risky, too fast, too ambitious for a woman her age. She never said that last part aloud, but Whitley heard it anyway. I'll handle Kane. Whitley grabbed her tablet and headed to the conference room. Her Louboutins clicking against marble floors, her blonde hair pulled into a severe bun, her expression giving nothing away. The board meeting was brutal. 3 hours of pushback, questioning, subtle and not so subtle implications that she was overextending. But Whitley held her ground with facts, projections, undeniable data. By the end, she had her approval. Conditional, limited, but approval nonetheless. One day, Bennett said afterward, lingering as others left, "You're going to have to let someone in. This Ice Queen routine can't be sustainable. It sustained me quite well for 32 years. Has it? Or are you just afraid of being vulnerable?" "I'm not afraid of anything. I'm realistic. Vulnerability is weakness. Emotion clouds judgment. I learned that watching my mother waste her life on a man who never deserved her devotion. Your father loved your mother. My father loved his work. My mother was collateral damage. I won't make that mistake." Whitley gathered her things. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual work to do." She left Bennett standing there, probably thinking she was cold, heartless, incapable of feeling. People always thought that. And Whitley let them, because being feared was safer than being loved. What she didn't know was that across the building, in a utility closet on the 3rd floor, someone was about to challenge every assumption she'd built her life around. Augustus Pierce, everyone called him Gus, had worked as a janitor at Ashford Tower for 6 months. At 35, he'd held dozens of jobs: construction, retail, driving trucks, whatever paid bills and supported his family. Janitorial work wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, decent pay with benefits, and it left his days free to work on what mattered. Gus was a sculptor, had been since his mother, Yolanda Pierce, bought him modeling clay when he was 7, and he'd created a horse so lifelike she'd cried. He'd studied art on a full scholarship at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, graduated with honors, shown his work in small galleries. But art didn't pay bills. Not consistently. Not enough to help his father Jerome with medical expenses from diabetes, or support his sister Tasha through nursing school, or save for a studio that didn't double as his bedroom. So Gus cleaned offices at night, sculpted during the day, and tried not to let bitterness poison the beauty he created. "Yo, Gus!" Camilla Torres, the janitorial supervisor, found him restocking supplies. "You're on executive floors tonight. 45 through 48. Bathroom deep clean, vacuum, trash, the usual." "Got it." Gus grabbed his cart, loading cleaning supplies with practiced efficiency. Executive floors meant seeing how the other half lived. Offices bigger than his entire apartment. Art on walls that cost more than he made in a year. Views that stretched forever while he cleaned toilets and emptied trash cans. Gus tried not to be resentful. These people worked hard, presumably. They'd earned their success, probably. But sometimes, pushing his cart past mahogany desks and original paintings, he felt invisible. Like he was part of the building's infrastructure rather than a human being with dreams and talent and worth. Floor 48 was quiet at 9 p.m. Most executives left by 6. But as Gus approached the corner office, the big one, the CEO's office, he noticed lights still on. Whitley Ashford sat at her desk. Blonde hair now loose around her shoulders, glasses perched on her nose, so absorbed in whatever was on her screen that she didn't notice him. Gus knocked softly. "Excuse me, Miss Ashford. I'm here to clean. I can come back." She looked up and Gus felt the impact of her gaze. Sharp, assessing, cold. "How long will you take?" 15 minutes. Trash, vacuum, bathroom. Do it quietly. I'm working. Not thank you. Not sorry to keep you late. Just a dismissal. Like he was an interruption rather than a person doing his job. Gus swallowed his irritation and got to work. He emptied trash cans, noting the ridiculous waste. Half-full coffee cups, barely used notebooks, packaging from expensive takeout. He cleaned her private bathroom. Pristine, barely used, stocked with designer toiletries that cost more than his weekly grocery budget. As he vacuumed, Gus noticed the art on her walls. Corporate stuff mostly. Abstract prints chosen by designers, not collectors. Soulless. Beautiful in a technical sense, but empty of meaning. One piece caught his attention, though. A small sculpture on a shelf behind her desk. Bronze, maybe 6 inches tall, depicting hands cradling a bird. It was exquisite, detailed, full of emotion that the rest of her office lacked. "That's beautiful," Gus said before thinking, gesturing to the sculpture. Whitley glanced up, irritated at the interruption. "Excuse me?" "The sculpture. The hands and bird. It's exceptional work. The emotion in the negative space. The way the fingers curve protectively. Whoever made that understood the relationship between strength and gentleness." Whitley stared at him like he'd spoken Greek. "Are you finished cleaning?" "Almost. Sorry for the interruption." Gus returned to his cart, feeling stupid for trying to connect with someone who clearly saw him as furniture. But as he left, he didn't see Whitley's expression shift. From irritation to surprise to something like curiosity, because in 6 months of working at Ashford Tower, not one person, not executives, not board members, not even Bennett, who'd given her the sculpture, had understood what made that piece special. And a janitor had seen it in seconds. Over the following weeks, Gus became a fixture on the executive floors. He saw Whitley Ashford regularly, always working late, always alone, always projecting that same icy competence that made people maintain careful distance. But Gus started noticing things others might miss. The way she rubbed her temples when she thought no one was looking. Exhaustion etched in every line of her face. The untouched meals Rosa brought her. Concern evident in the assistant's expression. The photos on her desk, one of a young blonde boy, her brother Leo, Gus would learn later. One of an older woman who shared Whitley's features, her mother Diana. No partner, no friends, just work and family obligation. Gus recognized loneliness when he saw it. He'd lived it often enough, losing himself in clay and bronze to avoid confronting how isolated his life had become. Art was company, but cold company. One evening, Gus arrived to find Whitley at her window, staring out at the city, a glass of whiskey untouched on her desk. She looked sad, vulnerable, human. "Ms. Ashford?" Gus spoke softly. "Are you all right?" She turned, her mask slamming into place. "Why wouldn't I be? You seem tired. And you haven't eaten. Rosa's worried. She mentioned you skipped lunch again." Rosa talks too much, but Whitley's tone lacked its usual bite. "I'm fine. Just thinking." "About? Why do you care?" The question wasn't hostile, genuinely curious. "You're the janitor. Your job is cleaning, not whatever this is. My job is making this building better. Sometimes that's cleaning. Sometimes it's reminding people to eat. Gus gestured to the untouched meal. You can't run an empire if you collapse from malnutrition. Something flickered across Whitley's face. Amusement, maybe. Did Rosa put you up to this? Nobody put me up to anything. I just notice things, like how you're here until midnight most nights. How your office is pristine because you never actually stop working long enough to make a mess. How you look at that sculpture behind your desk like it's the only thing in here that means something. Whitley was quiet for a long moment. That sculpture was a gift from someone who thought I needed something beautiful in my life. Do you? Do I what? Need something beautiful in your life? Beyond quarterly reports and acquisition deals? Beauty is subjective. Success is quantifiable. That's not an answer. No, it's not. Whitley picked up her whiskey, finally taking a sip. But it's the one you're getting. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to work in peace. Dismissed, but gentler this time, without the sharp edge. As Gus left, he glanced back. Whitley had returned to her window, staring at the city, looking more alone than anyone he'd ever seen. Hello, my Stop Racism family. Thank you for tuning in today. Before we dive deeper into this beautiful love story, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments below. Also, I'd love to know your thoughts. What did you think of the story so far? Do you believe love can truly conquer prejudice? Let us know in the comments. We love reading them. And trust me, your words motivate us to keep making these videos. Let's make this video reach at least 50 comments. Your support means the world to us, and it drives us to create even more meaningful content for you. So, don't forget to comment, share, and keep spreading love. The shift happened gradually, almost imperceptibly. Whitley started timing her late nights for when Gus would arrive. Not consciously at first, but she'd find herself working until 9 p.m., when his cart would appear and he'd knock softly before entering. They'd exchange brief words. He'd comment on something, the weather, a news story, once even the stock market fluctuations. She'd respond with her usual brevity, but slowly, their interactions stretched longer. One night, Gus arrived to find Whitley on a phone call, her voice sharp with fury. I don't care what Victor Strand offered. That patent is ours, and if your company thinks they can... She noticed Gus, held up a finger asking for time. He cleaned quietly, trying not to eavesdrop, but her frustration was palpable. When she finally hung up, she looked ready to throw her phone through the window. Rough day? Gus asked. Rough year. Victor Strand is trying to steal intellectual property I've spent 3 years developing. He thinks because he's older, more established, he can bully me into surrender. Will he succeed? Absolutely not. I'll burn everything down before I let him win. Gus paused in his cleaning. That sounds exhausting. Business is exhausting. Success requires sacrifice. What have you sacrificed? The question caught Whitley off guard. What? For success. What have you sacrificed? Because from where I'm standing, you've got money, power, this incredible office. But you're here alone at 10 p.m. on a Friday night, angry at rivals, looking like you haven't had a genuine moment of joy in months. So what did you sacrifice to get here? Whitley's first instinct was anger. How dare a janitor question her choices? But something about his gentle tone, his genuine curiosity rather than judgment, stopped her defensive response. Everything, she admitted quietly. I sacrificed relationships, friendships, any semblance of work-life balance. I chose success over happiness because happiness felt unreliable, temporary. Success, at least, is quantifiable. Is it, though? Success, I mean. Or is it just accumulation? You're awfully philosophical for a janitor. I'm a sculptor, actually. Janitorial work pays bills. Art feeds my soul. Gus returned to his cleaning. But I've learned you can have all the success in the world and still be empty if you don't have something, or someone, that matters beyond achievements. You sound like my mother. She's always saying I need to find someone, settle down, be happy. Do you want that? Someone. I don't believe in love, not the romantic fairy tale version. I believe in strategic partnerships, mutual benefit, compatible goals. But love? She laughed bitterly. Love is what made my mother miserable. My father loved his work more than anything. She wasted her life waiting for scraps of his attention. I won't make that mistake. That wasn't love. That was imbalance. Real love elevates both people, challenges them to be better while accepting who they are. You speak from experience? I speak from observation. My parents have been married 42 years. They're not perfect. They struggle. They fight. Dad's diabetes makes everything harder. But they choose each other every day, through hard times and good. That's love, not the fairy tale. The commitment. Whitley was quiet, absorbing this. Your parents sound remarkable. They are. Taught me that worth isn't measured by wealth or status. It's measured by character, by how you treat people when you don't have to, by what you build with your hands and heart. Is that why you sculpt? Partly. Also because making something beautiful from raw materials feels like magic, like proof that transformation is possible. For the first time in months, maybe years, Whitley smiled. Really smiled. Not the professional mask she wore for cameras and investors. I'd like to see your work sometime. Gus looked surprised. Seriously? You criticized my office art. Fair's fair. Let's see if your work lives up to your opinions. It's in a small community gallery. Nothing fancy. I don't care about fancy. I care about seeing if a man who cleans toilets for a living can also create beauty. The words were harsh, but her tone wasn't. And Gus recognized what she was doing, testing him, seeing if he'd react to her casual classism with anger or dignity. Tell you what, Gus said carefully. Come to my gallery showing next Saturday. See for yourself. But Ms. Ashford, when you see my work, remember that cleaning toilets doesn't define me any more than your title defines you. We're both more than our jobs. He left before she could respond, and Whitley sat in her office, staring at the door he'd exited through, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Curiosity. About a person. About possibilities beyond spreadsheets and acquisitions. About the humble janitor who saw her as human instead of intimidating. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. Saturday arrived, and Whitley almost didn't go. She had work, always had work. Going to some community gallery to see a janitor's art felt frivolous, weird, potentially inappropriate given their employer-employee relationship. But she went anyway, telling herself it was about supporting employee development. Professional interest, nothing personal. The gallery was in Pilsen, a neighborhood gentrifying but still rough around the edges. Nothing like the upscale galleries Whitley attended for networking, where champagne flowed and art cost 6 figures. This was a converted warehouse, admission by donation. Local artists showcasing work ranging from amateur to breathtaking. Gus's work fell firmly in the breathtaking category. His section featured sculptures, bronze, clay, mixed media, depicting everyday moments elevated to art. A mother holding a child, exhaustion and love, captured in the curve of her shoulders. An elderly man's hands, weathered and beautiful, cradling a book. A dancer mid-leap, joy and effort frozen in bronze. But the centerpiece stopped Whitley cold. It was titled Invisible. A life-size bronze figure of a man pushing a janitor's cart, his face tilted up toward light that only he could see. His expression carried dignity, hope, unbreakable spirit despite being cast in a role society deemed lesser. It was Gus. Not literally. The features were different, but the essence was him. The quiet strength, the humanity that persisted despite being overlooked. It's something, isn't it? Whitley turned to find Pastor Eugene Matthews beside her, an elderly black man with kind eyes and worn hands. You're talking about the sculpture? About Augustus. That boy's got a gift from God. Sees beauty where most folks see nothing. You know him? Known his whole family for decades. Good people. Gus works himself to the bone, supporting his parents, helping his sister through school, creating art that speaks truth. He could have been bitter about life's unfairness. Instead, he makes beauty. Whitley studied the sculpture again. It's called Invisible. Is that how he sees himself? It's how the world sees him. And people like him. Good folks doing necessary work, treated like they don't matter. But Gus knows better. Knows his worth isn't tied to his title. Unlike some of us, Whitley murmured. Pastor Matthews smiled knowingly. You're the CEO he's told me about? The one who works too hard and eats too little? He talks about me? Says you're brilliant but lonely. Says you've built walls so high, you've forgotten what it's like outside them. The pastor's voice was gentle. That sculpture there? That's not just about janitors. It's about anyone society deems less than. Anyone who's been invisible despite their worth. Before Whitley could respond, Gus appeared, looking uncomfortable in pressed slacks and a button-down shirt, clearly his gallery opening outfit. When he saw her, surprise and something like nervousness crossed his face. Ms. Ashford, you came. I said I would. Whitley gestured to his work. Pastor Matthews is right. These are extraordinary. Thank you. That means... He stopped. Wait, you met Pastor Eugene? I've been educating your boss about your character, the pastor said with a wink. Now, I'll leave you two to talk. Whitley, it was a pleasure. Come visit our church sometime. Everyone's welcome. As he left, Gus studied Whitley with open curiosity. You're really here, at a community gallery in Pilsen. You're about as out of place as you are in a boardroom? Whitley finished. But you're right. This isn't my usual Saturday. But your work, she looked at the sculptures again. It's humbling, beautiful, full of humanity I don't see in most art I encounter. Because most art you see is about status. Mine's about truth. They walked through the gallery together, Gus explaining his process, his inspiration, his frustration at needing a day job when he wanted to sculpt full-time. Whitley listened, really listened, fascinated by his passion and perspective. Why don't you do this full-time? She asked. You're talented enough. Because art doesn't pay bills. Not consistently. Not enough to support my family. My father's diabetes medication costs $400 a month even with insurance. My sister's nursing school tuition is $20,000 a year. My mother needs a new roof on their house. I can't be selfish with my time when people depend on me. That's not selfish. That's pursuing your calling. My calling doesn't matter if my family suffers. Whitley felt something unfamiliar. Respect. Deep, genuine respect for a man who sacrificed his dreams for family. She'd spent years pursuing her calling ruthlessly. Had it made her happy or just successful? Thank you for inviting me, she said as the evening ended. This was illuminating. Will I see you Monday? Or is this weird now, CEO visiting Janitor's art show? It's not weird, it's... Whitley paused, searching for the right word. Human. I'll see you Monday, Gus. And Gus, keep creating. The world needs more beauty like yours. As she left, Gus stood in his gallery, surrounded by his art, feeling like maybe, just maybe, Whitley Ashford wasn't as cold-hearted as everyone believed. Maybe she was just protected. And maybe, given time and patience, those walls could come down. Monday brought an unexpected development. Whitley called Gus to her office during business hours, not his usual night shift. He arrived nervous, expecting trouble, possibly termination for inappropriate boundary crossing. Instead, Whitley made an offer. I have a proposition. My building's main lobby needs a commissioned sculpture, something that represents innovation, humanity, progress. I want you to create it. Gus stared. You're joking. I don't joke about business. The commission is $50,000. Materials covered separately. 3 months to complete. If you need references, I can provide them based on what I saw Saturday. Ms. Ashford, I'm a janitor here. Commissioning me creates conflicts of interest, awkward dynamics. So quit the janitorial position. Focus on art. $50,000 will cover your family expenses and buy studio time. Unless you don't want the commission. I want it. But why? Why me? Whitley leaned back in her chair. Because your work moved me. Because I want something in this building that has soul, not just aesthetic appeal. And because... She paused. Because I'm tired of pretending I don't see the humanity in people I've been trained to overlook. I'm one of dozens of janitors. Why did you notice me? Honestly, you talked to me like I was a person, not a title. You saw my sculpture when no one else did. You challenge my assumptions without being disrespectful. And your work speaks to something I've been missing. Proof that beauty can exist alongside struggle. That worth isn't determined by status. Gus sat down without being invited, too shocked to remember protocol. If I accept this, things change. I won't be the janitor you can dismiss. I'll be an artist you've invested in. We'll have a professional relationship that's more complicated, I'm aware. But Gus, I've spent my life avoiding complications. It's made me successful and miserable. Maybe it's time I tried something different. Like what? Like seeing where this goes. Not the commission, us, this connection, whatever it is. The air between them shifted. What had been employer-employee, then reluctant acquaintances, then cautious friends, suddenly carried possibility. Ms. Ashford, Whitley, if we're doing this, use my name. Whitley, Gus tested the name. I'm a 35-year-old black man who cleans toilets for a living. You're a white billionaire CEO? You really want to explore, what? Friendship? More than friendship? I don't know what I want. But I know seeing you Saturday, seeing your world, made me feel more alive than I have in years. That has to mean something. It could also be fascination with someone different. Rebellion against your carefully controlled life. A phase. Or it could be genuine. The beginning of something real. Whitley stood, walked to her window. My whole life, people have told me what I should want. Success, power, strategic marriages to men like Bennett who bring business value. I've never pursued something just because it felt right. Maybe it's time I did. Gus joined her at the window. People will judge. Your board, your colleagues, society. A white CEO dating a black janitor turned artist? That's tabloid fodder. Scandal. Proof you're making questionable choices. Let them judge. I'm tired of living for other people's approval. Are you, though? Because talking about bucking convention and actually doing it are very different. When people make racist comments about us, and they will, when they question your judgment, your competence, your worth, because you're with me, will you still think this is worth it? Whitley turned to face him fully. I don't know. I've never done this before. Never chosen something, someone, based purely on feeling rather than logic. But I'd like to try, if you're willing. Gus studied her. This powerful, intimidating, brilliant woman who was offering vulnerability like a gift. He saw past her designer suit and corner office to the lonely person underneath. Saw someone as isolated by success as he'd been by struggle. Okay, we try, carefully, honestly, with full awareness that this might blow up spectacularly. That's a very unromantic acceptance. I'm a realist. But I'm also someone who sees beauty in unlikely places. And Whitley, you're beautiful. Not just physically, though you are, but your mind, your drive, your willingness to question yourself, that's beautiful. For the second time in recent memory, Whitley smiled genuinely. That might be the nicest thing anyone's said to me in years. Then you've been spending time with the wrong people. They stood at the window together, looking out at Chicago. Two people from impossibly different worlds, choosing to see where connection might lead. Neither knew the battles ahead, the judgment, the racism, the class warfare, the personal reckonings. But for now, they had this, a moment of possibility, where the cold-hearted CEO let her walls crack and the humble janitor dared to hope. Their relationship developed slowly, carefully. Coffee meetings that turned into dinners. Gallery visits where Whitley learned about art and Gus learned about corporate warfare. Long conversations about everything and nothing, discovering shared values beneath vastly different exteriors. But they kept it private. Whitley wasn't ready to face the inevitable scrutiny. Gus understood. This world was new to her, scary in ways boardrooms never were. Then Victor Strand forced their hand. 3 months into their relationship, Strand's company launched a hostile takeover attempt of Ashford Technologies. The board panicked. Bennett Cross, still harboring feelings for Whitley, suggested she prove stability by announcing an engagement. To him, naturally. A power couple merger that would reassure investors. Absolutely not, Whitley said flatly during the emergency board meeting. We need to project strength, Oliver Kane insisted. Personal stability suggests professional stability. If you and Bennett and I are not together, we'll never be together. My personal life is not a chess piece in corporate warfare. Then what do you suggest? Victor Strand had somehow gotten a seat at this meeting. Bold, aggressive, smirking. Your company's vulnerable, Miss Ashford. Personally and professionally. Unless you have some secret stability you've been hiding. Whitley made a decision that terrified and exhilarated her in equal measure. I'm in a relationship. A serious one. That should be stability enough. The room erupted. Questions, demands for details, speculation about who. Whitley held up a hand. His name is Augustus Pierce. He's an artist I've commissioned for the building's new lobby installation. We've been seeing each other for 3 months. That's all you need to know. An artist? Victor Strand laughed. How fiscally responsible. Your board should be thrilled you're dating someone broke. He's not broke. He's talented, hardworking, and supportive. More than I can say for most people in this room. After the meeting, Rosa pulled Whitley aside. Ma'am, you just announced a relationship with a man the board knows was working as a janitor here 6 months ago. They're going to investigate, tear apart his background, use him against you. Let them try. Augustus has nothing to hide, unlike Victor Strand, who's currently being investigated for fraud. But Ms. Ashford, Whitley, he's black. You know how this looks. The optics of a white CEO dating a black man who used to clean her offices. Look like I chose someone who sees me as a person. I'm done hiding. Schedule a press conference. The press conference was chaos. Whitley stood beside Gus, who'd been horrified when she told him her plan but agreed to support her, as reporters fired questions. Ms. Ashford, isn't it inappropriate to date a former employee? Mr. Pierce never reported to me directly. There's no HR violation. How did you meet? He was working at my building. We discovered shared interests. People are saying you're exploiting a power dynamic, that you're using him for publicity to fight the takeover. Gus stepped forward before Whitley could respond. I'm not being exploited. I'm a grown man who makes my own choices. Whitley and I connected because she saw past my job title to who I am. If people can't accept that, that says more about their prejudices than our relationship. Mr. Pierce, you clean toilets. Now you're dating a billionaire. People assume a lot of things about black men, especially black men involved with white women. I'm used to it. Doesn't make it right, but I'm used to it. Gus's voice was firm. Whitley is brilliant, driven, kind when people aren't watching. I care about her. She cares about me. That's all that matters. The press conference went viral. Opinions exploded across social media. CEO dating former janitor? She's going through something. He's obviously using her for money. Interracial relationships are fine, but the power dynamic is concerning. Rich white woman can't find a man in her tax bracket? Sad. Black king getting his bag. Respect. This is what happens when society accepts deviance. The racism was vicious, but so was the support. Stories emerged of other interclass, interracial couples. Discussions about classism, racism, who deserved love. Whitley and Gus became unlikely symbols of something larger than themselves. The board demanded Whitley's resignation. Oliver Kane led the charge, citing unprofessional behavior and judgment concerns. Victor Strand's takeover attempt gained momentum as investors panicked. Whitley fought back with everything she had. She presented 5 years of flawless financial performance, showcased Ashford Technologies' growth under her leadership, demonstrated that her personal life had zero impact on professional competence. But the real battle was personal. Her mother, Diana Ashford, showed up at Whitley's penthouse unannounced. What are you doing? Dating a janitor? Whitley, you're throwing away everything for what? Rebellion? A phase? It's not a phase. I love him. Diana froze. You love him. Whitley, you don't believe in love. You've said that repeatedly. I didn't believe in it. Then I met someone who showed me what it could be. Someone who sees me, challenges me, makes me want to be better. He cleans toilets. He creates art that moves people to tears. He supports his family selflessly. He has more integrity in his pinky than most billionaires have in their entire existence. Whitley's voice shook. And yes, Mom, he cleaned toilets. Because our society assigns value to jobs rather than people. But Augustus Pierce is worth 10 of the men you've tried to set me up with. People are talking, calling you foolish, unstable. People talked when Dad died, and you fell apart. They said you were weak, emotional, incapable. Were they right? Diana flinched. That's different. It's not. You loved Dad despite his flaws. I love Gus despite society's prejudices. The only difference is race and class, which reveals more about society's racism than our relationship's validity. Diana was quiet for a long time. Your father would have opinions. Dad valued success above everything. It killed him before he turned 60. I won't make that mistake. I'd rather have love and happiness than die alone in a corner office. Even if it costs you the company? Even then. Diana studied her daughter, this strong, stubborn, brilliant woman who'd always chosen logic over emotion. Seeing her choose love was terrifying and beautiful. Invite him to dinner. Let me meet this man who's turned my daughter into someone I barely recognize. You'll be civil? I'll be curious. And Whitley, I'm proud of you. Terrified, but proud. The family dinners were disasters in different ways. Diana Ashford grilled Gus relentlessly about his background, his intentions, his financial situation. Whitley's younger brother Leo, home from college, was fascinated and supportive, but the discomfort was palpable. What do your parents think about this relationship? Diana asked over dessert. They're concerned, Gus admitted honestly. Worried I'm going to get hurt when Whitley realizes the cultural and economic differences are too big. And will she? That's up to Whitley. But I'm not with her for money. I'm with her because she makes me laugh, because she's learning to see people beyond their utility, because when she lets her guard down, she's extraordinary. Diana's expression softened slightly. My daughter doesn't let her guard down easily. I noticed. It's part of her charm. Meeting Gus's family was different. Jerome and Yolanda Pierce welcomed Whitley to their modest South Side home with warmth that made her chest ache. They didn't care about her money. They cared about how she treated their son. Augustus says you're good to him, Yolanda said, serving homemade dinner that put Whitley's usual catered meals to shame. That's all a mother needs to know. I try to be. He's easy to be good to. He tells us you're facing backlash. From your world. Yes, people have opinions about our differences. Jerome set down his fork. Let me tell you something, Miss Whitley. The world's been telling black folks we don't belong in white spaces our entire lives. Augustus has dealt with racism since he could walk. If you're serious about him, you'll face some of that hatred too. Are you prepared for that? Honestly, I don't know. I've never been judged harshly for anything. Never faced discrimination. This is new territory. Then learn. Listen. Don't expect Gus to educate you about every racial dynamic. Do your own work. And when people make racist comments about him, and they will, stand up. Every time. No exceptions. I will. I promise. Tasha, Gus's sister, had been quiet through dinner. Finally, she spoke. You know what impressed me? Gus said you went to his gallery. To Pilsen. That you didn't just summon him to some fancy gallery uptown, but actually entered his world. Most wealthy people don't do that. They expect the world to come to them. I'm trying to be better than I was. We can all see that. Just don't give up when it gets hard. My brother's been through enough disappointment. Don't add to it. Whitley nodded, understanding the protective warning. This family loved Gus fiercely. She'd have to prove she was worth that acceptance. While navigating personal complications, Whitley was fighting for her company. Victor Strand's takeover attempt intensified. The board split, half supporting Whitley, half demanding her resignation. You've become a liability, Oliver Kane said during a contentious meeting. Your relationship has made the company look unstable. Investors are nervous. Investors are nervous because Strand is manipulating stock prices and spreading rumors. My relationship is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant when it dominates headlines. Whitley stood, her voice steel. Let me be clear. I built this company from nearly nothing, increased value 400%, created thousands of jobs, maintained ethical practices in an industry rife with corruption. My personal life, my relationship with a good man, doesn't negate those achievements. If this board can't separate professional competence from personal choices, perhaps you're the problem. Bennett caught her after. There's a solution. Break up with him, publicly. Say it was a mistake. You'll look mature for acknowledging the error, and investor confidence will return. Absolutely not. Whitley, be reasonable. I'm done being reasonable by everyone else's definition. Gus makes me happy. That's non-negotiable. Then you'll lose everything. Maybe. Or maybe I'll redefine what everything means. The battle came to a head when Felicity Grant from HR discovered something buried in Strand's past. He'd been involved in multiple discrimination lawsuits, including one where he'd fired a black employee for cultural fit issues. The evidence was damning. Whitley weaponized it. So, let me get this straight. You're attacking my relationship with a black man while having a documented history of racial discrimination. That's rich. The revelation destroyed Strand's credibility. Investors reconsidered. The board rallied. Within 2 weeks, the takeover attempt collapsed. Whitley had won. But at a cost. She'd had to expose her personal life, defend her choices publicly, prove her relationship was real rather than publicity. And through it all, Gus stood beside her, facing cameras, enduring judgment, maintaining dignity when people reduced him to stereotypes. He wasn't her savior. He was her partner, and that made all the difference. 6 months after they'd started dating, Gus completed his lobby sculpture. The unveiling was public. Art critics, business leaders, media, all gathered to see what the controversial CEO had commissioned from her equally controversial boyfriend. The sculpture was breathtaking. Titled Connection, it depicted 2 figures, one in business attire, one in work clothes, reaching toward each other across space. Their hands didn't quite touch, but the intention was clear. Different worlds bridging gaps, seeing humanity despite differences. It's about more than romance, Gus explained during his artist statement. It's about how we view people based on surface markers, job titles, race, class. About how meaningful connection requires looking deeper, seeing someone's worth beyond their utility to us. Art critics called it profound and timely. Business publications noted the irony of a CEO celebrating class bridge building. Social media dissected every meaning. But for Whitley, standing beside Gus as people praised his work, the sculpture meant something simpler. It was proof that transformation was possible, that a cold-hearted CEO who didn't believe in love could learn, that a humble janitor could be seen as the artist he'd always been. "I'm proud of you," she whispered during the reception. "I'm proud of us," Gus corrected, "for being brave enough to try this." That night, in Whitley's penthouse, they finally addressed the question that had been hovering. "Where do we go from here?" Whitley asked. "You've completed the commission. You could open your own studio now, work full-time as an artist. I've stabilized the company. We've survived the worst of the public scrutiny. So, what next?" Gus pulled her close. "What do you want?" "I want you, permanently. Not just dating. Building something real. Partnership, marriage, family maybe. All the things I said I didn't believe in. And you believe in them now? I believe in you, in us, in the possibility that love isn't a fairy tale or a weakness. It's choosing someone every day and working to build something together. That's a long way from the woman who said love was a strategic liability. That woman was wrong about a lot of things. She was lonely, scared, and convinced that achievement equaled fulfillment. You showed me different, showed me that life without connection is just existence." Gus kissed her. Soft, deep, full of promise. "Then let's build something, not perfect. We're too different for perfect, but real, honest, based on actually seeing each other, even when people judge. Especially then, because every time we choose each other despite judgment, we prove that love is stronger than prejudice. That's very optimistic for someone who's faced racism his whole life. Optimism is how I survive. That and creating beauty from struggle." He gestured around her penthouse. "Speaking of which, this place needs art. Real art, not expensive emptiness. Are you offering to redecorate?" "I'm offering to make this space reflect the people living in it, not just the CEO, the woman I love." Whitley's breath caught. They hadn't said it yet, had danced around feelings, but never made that declaration. "You love me?" "Completely. Terrifyingly. You're demanding, occasionally insensitive about class issues, and you still sometimes forget that service workers are people. But you're also brilliant, funny, capable of growth, and brave enough to challenge every assumption you were raised with. How could I not love you? I love you too. Even though you leave clay everywhere, have terrible financial habits, and make me feel emotions I don't know how to process, I love you, Augustus Pierce. Even the janitor part of my past, especially that, because it's part of your story, part of what shaped you into someone who sees humanity in everyone. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type ZO. We want to know what you think. 1 year after their relationship began, Whitley made an announcement at Ashford Technologies' annual shareholders meeting. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations, remaining as board chair, but transitioning CEO responsibilities to Bennett Cross. He's earned it, and I trust him completely. The room erupted in questions. Whitley raised a hand. This isn't about relationships or scandals. It's about recognizing that success without life is empty. I spent years building this company at the cost of everything else. Now I want balance. Time to support my partner's career. Time to pursue interests beyond quarterly reports. Time to actually live. She turned to Gus, standing in the audience. Someone once told me that worth isn't measured by wealth or status. It's measured by character, by how you treat people when you don't have to, by what you build with your hands and heart. I'm finally ready to believe that. The shareholders' meeting ended with mixed reactions. Some praised her courage, others predicted professional suicide. Whitley didn't care anymore. She'd spent her life seeking approval. Now she sought fulfillment. 6 months later, Whitley and Gus opened a nonprofit, the Ashford Pierce Arts Foundation. It provided grants to artists from underrepresented communities, funded arts education in underserved schools, and commissioned public art for low-income neighborhoods. You know what's funny? Gus said during the foundation's launch. A year ago, I was cleaning your office, feeling invisible. Now we're building something together that actually matters. You were never invisible. I was just blind. And now I see you, really see you. Not the janitor, not the artist, Augustus Pierce. The man who taught me that love isn't a weakness, that connection matters more than achievement, that a life built on relationship is richer than one built on success alone. Their wedding was small, family, close friends, Pastor Eugene Matthews officiating. Diana gave her blessing. Jerome walked Whitley down the aisle alongside her brother Leo. Tasha was Gus's best woman. It was imperfect, emotional, real. I was the cold-hearted billionaire who didn't believe in love, Whitley said during her vows. You were the humble janitor I almost never saw, but you insisted on seeing me. Not the CEO, but the person. You challenged my assumptions about worth, about love, about what matters. And slowly, without realizing it, I fell in love with you. With your art, your family, your perspective. With the man who saw beauty in emptiness and insisted I could too. I was the janitor, Gus said during his vows. Society told me that defined my worth, that I was less than because I cleaned toilets. But you proved something remarkable, that status is irrelevant when two people truly see each other. You're not perfect. You still sometimes forget to tip service workers. You still struggle with the privilege you were born into. But you try. You grow. You love fiercely once you open your heart. And I'm honored to spend my life beside you. They kissed as husband and wife. Two people from impossible worlds who'd built something neither could have imagined. 5 years later, they had 2 children. Their daughter was named Grace, for the grace required to bridge their worlds. Their son was named Julian, for the joy they'd found together. Whitley balanced foundation work with being board chair. Gus sculpted full-time, his work now internationally recognized. They fought sometimes, about money, about parenting, about the persistent challenges of navigating an interracial marriage in America. But they loved more, chose each other daily, proved that transformation was possible. The sculpture in Ashford Tower's lobby remained Connection, the piece Gus had created at the beginning. Employees would walk past it daily, seeing two figures reaching across divides, and remember the story. The cold-hearted billionaire who'd learned to feel. The humble janitor who taught her how. The love story that had challenged assumptions about worth, about race, about class. Sometimes, the most powerful transformations begin with the smallest moments. A late-night conversation in an office, a sculpture noticed, a connection that refused to be ignored. Whitley Ashford had spent her life believing love was a liability. Augustus Pierce had shown her it was the greatest strength. And together, they'd built something beautiful from the impossible space between their worlds.